So it usually takes a minute for Instagram to like push the chat out to, hi Carly, how are you? Carly is another BIMmer.
Oh, woo.
Yeah, we both did the songwriting diploma the same year. So Carly, Jen did BIM as well. She did a degree in vocals. So yeah. There seems to be lots of people who have either done a diploma or done a degree, in BIM.
I just feel like BIM is like the center of music at the minute. Like it's just got all the new talent through it.
Absolutely. I remember actually when you were the first person to tell me about BIM, I'm really sure, because I remember getting a message from you saying, look at this, you should so do this, it would really suit you.
Yeah.
And at the time I was like, oh, I don't know if I could do a degree, like I'm not sure, like I just didn't have the confidence in myself,
Yeah.
And you were one of the first people to do the
I was in the first graduating class, so it was a like complete tester on us, like we were the guinea pigs.
Yeah
exactly.
Hi Frank. Welcome. Yeah, that's cool. And how did you find being the guinea pig of a course?
Interesting. Like there was positives and negatives to it, because I'll start with the positives, because the positives were great. Like obviously we got to like meet so many people, and because it was the first year of it, like the age group was very mixed, whereas I think like nowadays the degree course is majority is straight out of school, the course has been established for like, God, how long am I out of there? Like 5 years. So when we first came in, it was the only degree course that you could do in contemporary music. So there was such a mix of ages. There was like, it wasn't just people straight out of school, so it was like, I went in, I was 22 going into BIM, and I was nervous because I was like, oh my God, I'm 22 and I'm going back to college and I don't know what I'm doing with my life. And I was like, I'm going to be just in here with a load of leaving cert heads. And I wasn't. Like, it was a lot of people my age, a lot of people older, because there was nothing before this and they wanted to get their degree, same as me. So and don't get me wrong, there were leaving cert heads and they were all lovely and we all got on really well. That was fine. But I think that was the main difference, is that like the age group was different, and also because we were the first year of it, we were the only students in the whole building.
Oh yeah, that's nice.
Because there was no years above us, so we all knew all the tutors, like first name basis, like everybody knew us. And so like when we graduated, it was like a very close relationship between ourselves and the tutors, because they had obviously had us for 4 years when there was like nobody else in the college. So like a lot of us have benefited from that, in that we've worked with tutors outside of BIM, we've gigged with them, we've like made the most of the opportunities. Whereas I know now, obviously the students coming in, like they've got 400 other students to be dealing with, so I don't think they get that one-on-one kind of closeness that we did. But at the same time, because we were the first year, like it was a bit of a mess educationally. Like nobody really knew what the answer to anything was. That there was the communication between the BIM colleges in the UK and our college was like all over the place. I know they fixed that.
It was still being worked out, I guess. Frank is asking, what are we talking about? He says BIM is a savage tack. we're actually going to talk about, Jen is a professional singer. She is in a wedding band and she has lots of other things. So we're going to kind of start off with where Jen started out with music, like as a child, and then going into secondary school, and kind of what support was there in secondary school to going into college, and then how she has made a career as a musician after college, and then kind of how the whole COVID situation has affected her. So we're kind of going to run through everything. So for anyone who has an interest in pursuing a career in music, this is going to be a really interesting conversation for you. Or if anyone just wants to hear two girls having a yak, you're more than welcome to stay as well. So Jen, I noticed that there's 3 people watching, but these things, like, people will always rewatch them afterwards. We'll just motor on, okay? Hi, Vogue Academy, I think it is. How are you? Thanks for joining. So Jen, I thought it might be cool to like tell people how we met.
Oh yeah.
Because like you're from Dublin, I'm from Kildare, and I'm now living in Clonmel. So maybe, do you want to like maybe you could give your side of how you remember, because it was a while ago now.
Okay. I know that I can't even remember how like I got in contact with Pamela, but I just remember that there was something about someone setting up a girl band, and I cannot for the life of me remember how I got into that audition room or whatever it was at the time. But I went for the audition, and like we still didn't really know what the story was with the girl band or anything. We just knew that it was being put together or whatever. And then myself, Rebecca, and another girl, Jodie, got put into this little band together, and it was just like the whole idea of it was that we were going to be brought over to the UK to record, to be hopefully put on this Twilight soundtrack at the time. So it was like, that was the whole aim of the girl band. It wasn't anything to do with like, oh, you know, get them a record deal or whatever else. It was like, we need to have the, you know, a band that makes their break on the soundtrack of Twilight, because it was going to be the biggest film of the year and all this. And then it was just kind of what came after that. Like, obviously we didn't get on the soundtrack of Twilight, or we would be in very different situations right now. But it was like a very, what's the word? Like, we had never met each other, we had never hung out with each other, and we were just kind of thrown into a room and expected to be this like girl band, and it was a very different style music project to something that I'd ever been involved in. I know that like you had a bit more of a gothic-esque look to you at the time, but you had still come from like a musical theatre background, same as myself. And we were expected to just be these like dark, kind of gloomy, like gothic kind of singers, and I found it really mad, like I really did. But it was great because I got to meet you, and I got to meet Jodie, and we got to go over to the UK, and we got to record in Universal Studios and meet the guy who signed Amy Winehouse in Island Records. Like, it was mad. It was absolutely mad experience, but it was great.
It was cool. Like, I mean, my kind of memory of that is like, obviously I was in, we both came from stage school backgrounds. You were a Billie Barry student, and I was Pamela Keely's stage school student. And Pamela basically said, come on up to Dublin to like some community hall. There's this guy who wants to put a band together. So I went up and like sang for him. And then I don't know how long later they were like, we have 2 other people now. So we got yourself and your Jodie as well, and then we all met, and like I just remember going over to the UK and like being chauffeured around and like fancy cabs over there.
Yeah, it was very like VIP, wasn't it? Like,
it was kind of cool.
Like, what age were we? Like 18?
You're a little bit, tiny bit younger than me, aren't you?
Yeah.
So I think I was like 21, 22.
Yeah. I think me and Jodie were like 18. Jodie's younger than me again, I think.
Yeah, she would be even younger. Yeah. But yeah, we were all quite young, and I remember like we were swapping outfits and trying to like, you know,
like matching.
Coordinate.
Yeah.
It was brilliant, and then we were like, they were like, don't tell them you're from stage school, and we were like,
oh my god, that was a stressful day, because they were literally like, oh yeah, so you're gonna go meet the head of Island Records now, like no pressure, just like, you know, the biggest record label that there is in the UK at that time. But he thinks that you guys met like organically on the gigging scene. And I was like, I was like barely like able to drink in pubs and stuff. And I was like, how long are we meant to have been on this like gigging scene for? And we got told that like 20 minutes before we went into that meeting as well. We were like, okay.
It was cool though, and like I mean probably one of my favorite part obviously was getting to record demos down in the, I think it was their demo studio down in the basement.
Yeah.
And like Steve Abbott was actually Jeff Buckley's tour manager, just name dropped there. So it was kind of cool to have that. And he was kind of, I suppose he was like, I don't know what he was, not managing us because we weren't signed or anything. He was coordinating the whole thing, and he was bringing us to the different record labels and stuff, like, and we had a song, didn't we?
Yeah, but was it not it wasn't an original song, it was the one by that 90s band, the Sisters.
Yes. I'm getting mixed up now.
Stay With Me.
Yeah, we had Stay by Shakespeare's Sister. Lilac Wine by Jeff Buckley as well. We recorded the 2 of those demos down in the studio. So I still have them online somewhere. I think they're on my Spotify, so I'll share them on my social media after.
I've listened to them recently, and they're actually not, they're not like, you wouldn't look at them and be like, you know.
Yeah. And then, after that then, what I was thinking of when I said we had a song was, remember we tried songwriting after that?
Oh my God. And
it kind of, it didn't really work out that well. We just didn't click as songwriters, like, and not
very different, like, musical tastes and stuff as well. But it was still fun to try it though.
It was really fun, but like, I think that's interesting though, because I just feel like anyone who's trying songwriting, like, don't get disheartened if you try and write with someone.
If one project doesn't work out, that doesn't mean that the rest of them aren't going to.
Yeah, because like, you just might not click as a songwriter with that particular person, but like, we've both gone on to do songwriting projects with like many other people. So like, it just, you know, and we were young at the time as well. It was all new to us. So like,
it was all new.
I think don't give up, guys.
Yeah, definitely.
So I kind of have this interview laid out in kind of, I suppose, sections, just to kind of keep us moving along. So why don't we talk a little bit about your child career, and maybe like how you started off, what got you into music, were you in stage school, maybe a bit about Billie Barry, and I know you were on the Late Show a good bit as well, and stuff like that. Like, those things would be interesting to talk about.
Like, so my nana was a piano teacher, and she like taught all my mom and her sisters piano, and they all like have their grade in piano and they're qualified to be piano teachers. Now none of them use it, like absolutely none of them. I don't even think any of them have played piano in the last like 5 years or more. But my nana like was teaching right up until, you know, like she was too old and sick or whatever. And so she would have given me piano lessons as a kid. I was just always singing, like, from, like, I can't even remember. Like, there's videos of me singing when I'm like just barely old enough to like talk, you know, like just like nursery rhymes and Disney films and all the kind of normal kid stuff to be singing. But my mom was actually a student of the Billie Barry Stage School.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
Open. Yeah, so like, in case anybody doesn't know what the Billie Barry Stage School is, it's like the longest running stage school, I think, in Ireland, definitely in Dublin. It's like over 50 years, and it's like just renowned all over the country, mainly because we used to be the kids that were on the toy show every year. Like, there kind of wasn't other stage schools ever on it, and also because the Billie Barry kids are the only kids to be featured in the Gaiety Pantomime that's been going on for a lot longer than that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it's only ever Billie Barry kids that are, you know, on stage in the panto every Christmas, which is very cool and very
I never knew that.
Yeah. So my mom was from the same area that the stage school started up in Fairview and Marino, and my nana put her in the stage school when they just started up, and they were in like the first class together. And so then when I was like 4, my mom put me in there, and I just loved it. Like, I'm the biggest Billie Barry kid like you'll ever meet in your life, you know. Like, I stayed there training with them and dancing and doing shows till I was like 20. I think I was like 24. Like, I'm definitely there like 20 years or so. Because like all my friends,
a long time.
Yeah, it's a long time. Like, when you think about something like that, like it took up like the majority of my life. Do you know what I mean? And it was like, it was my social outlet, because like I wasn't into sports or anything in school, or, you know, like I didn't have like loads of friends as a kid, but like all my friends were in the stage school. So like, and we were all obviously interested in the same stuff. We were all into musical theater, into dancing, into like doing shows and being creative. And they're still like, my closest mates are from the stage school. Like, I still hang out with them every day, like, you know, talk to them every day. And they're all like, most of them have gone into careers like similar to mine, like dancers and entertainers, and, you know, then some of them have gone into like the events industry and kind of that different avenues that maybe weren't like performing as their income, but went down that kind of a path. But yeah, I loved it. We were like, I think we had lessons like twice a week, and then if we had a show coming up, we had like multiple rehearsals. We used to love when we had shows, because we'd see each other then like 4 or 5 times a week, and it was just like hanging out with your mates, even though you were learning how to dance and learning how to perform, and we got to do so many cool things. Like, I was obviously in the panto as a kid, so I did like 3 Gaiety Pantos from the age of like 9 to 12, and I was in first year in secondary school finishing my last one, which was mad because I was like tiny, so I just looked like one of the kids. And like, it's lovely.
They are so tall though as well, aren't they? Like, I know they're towering over us.
We're a pair of short horses as well, though.
Yeah.
but yeah, so I did the panto, and the panto is like mental schedule wise, obviously more so as an adult, but as a kid, there's usually in and around like 90 shows in the Gaiety Panto, because it runs from like December to the like first week of February, in and around then, and there's like a full month of rehearsals before then. Now as a kid you're broken into two teams, so you'd only do half of those shows each
Okay,
team,
yeah.
obviously for like child labor laws and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
it's still like a big, you know, undertaking as a kid. Like I was going, like you have to miss a certain amount of school because the shows were on like 11 o'clock in the morning for the other schools to come and watch you. So we had to get like permission off our principals and off our teachers and everything to be allowed to do it, because if you were somebody who's, you know, maybe struggled in school or didn't get good grades, you weren't allowed to do it because you'd missed too much time off. And
Yeah, understandably.
so, yeah, so we had to like keep up with our homework and all this, and if we didn't keep up with our homework, like we were told, we wouldn't get to do the show. So it was very much like they wanted you to make sure you were still doing well in school.
Yeah.
But you might have to go to school during the day and then like go straight to a rehearsal for like 4 hours and then go back to school the next day and straight to a rehearsal. And then when it got to showtime, you were like, sometimes you're doing 2 shows a day and like doing your lessons and your homework and stuff in between. And it was hectic, absolutely hectic.
Yeah.
But like we loved every minute of it.
And like, I feel like being part of something like that really teaches you about work ethic and commitment and things like that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like my discipline and my professionality, I don't even know if that's the word, my professionalism.
It is now.
Let's do it. I know has carried through to my career as an adult. Like even in BIM, when we were doing stuff, like obviously we were all still students, but I had so much performing experience and like professional performing experience, not just like, you know, the local
Yeah.
or the local GA hall or whatever. Like I was doing like proper.
Then let my dog in. Sorry, one sec.
I'm actually surprised my cats haven't interrupted us yet.
I just leave the door open for him because he's calling again now.
Yeah. But yeah, so like we were doing like proper like professional gigs with adults and stuff for like a long time. So when I got to BIM and we were you had to put, you know, projects together or do live performances, like the comments that I got from all the tutors was just like, it didn't feel like a college performance, you know, like it didn't feel like you were auditioning for a college show. It was like everybody else would show up in what they were wearing that day, and I'd have like a full-blown costume, like props, and like just because that's the way that I did things, you know, and it's the way that I taught to do things. Same with, you know, turning up for rehearsals, being professional, being on time, you know, not letting anybody down, not just like bailing out of something because you were hungover, like those little things, like they're ingrained in you in that stage.
Yeah.
You're like, you never miss anything unless you're literally dead, you know. So
100%. And just the way you said about turning up for your BIM shows and like coming in costume and all that, like it kind of reminded me a little bit of myself, because I remember when I started my band She Speaks, I remember like our guitarist Wayne, like he used to always say to me, stop being so theatrical.
And stop, you know, use it to your strength. It's obviously what you're good at, like.
I know, yeah, and like just like I was always like super business-like as well since I was a kid, and like I think part of that was definitely from
stage schools, like
being part of stage school. Yeah, 100%. Very valuable skills.
Oh, fun, yeah.
What was like one of your fondest, best memories as a child performer?
I definitely think Panto's up there. Definitely, like Panto, because you're in a little bubble, and it's the same. I did it as an adult as well. I was in the 2015 Red Riding Hood Panto as an adult. Now, like I wasn't like a main part or anything. I was like one of the 3 little pigs, which is less funny than it actually sounds like it is. We were like 3 divas that were kind of molded off the Kardashians. Obviously, like Pantos are funny and they're all tongue in cheek and everything, but we had to sing Aretha Franklin Respect, and it was that kind of a vibe. But we were dressed as pigs, and it was very
sassy.
Yeah, very sassy. But it is when you're in a show like that, that's, you know, it's the same as any like West End show or like a touring production. Like you're just with the cast all day long, every day for like 3 months. Like you're living in each other's pockets, and even when you're kids, it's the same thing. So you kind of feel like you're at a constant like slumber party or like summer camp for like 3 months. So those memories are definitely up there. Doing the toy show and things on the TV, always cool, because like when you're in school, you're coming in and you're going, all the teachers are talking about the fact that you were on the telly, and like obviously there was some kids who hated the fact that I performed and, you know, gave me a bit of slack over it or whatever, but For the most part, like it was pretty positive. It was everybody kind of going, "Sorry, on the telly," and you're like, like delighted with yourself. So
I know, it's so cool. Any advice, actually, because I've definitely got a couple of students who are going for the auditions for the Late Late Toy Show.
Yeah.
So any tips for auditioning for it?
I think they like to see personality, like not to say that they like to see personality more than talent, but there's a lot of talent that goes into those auditions. There's a lot of kids around the country who are all amazing, who all sing, really well, and there always kind of has to be something that makes you stand out. I think whether it's that you're wearing like we were talking about, like a cool costume, or whether you have like props, like because they tell you to just kind of film it yourself at home. You could easily make like a background with like your bed sheets and some fairy lights. They love stuff like that, like just to see the effort that you've gone through. Or if you had, like I've seen people do like dance routines and they have like a quick change in the middle of it, or like just something that kind of makes you go, what's going to make them remember me over the 12 other kids that have sang the same song, and as well as that song choice is very important, because I know, like, the likes of the popular songs, like the things out of Frozen, or maybe like the Trolls movies and stuff like that, you have to remember about how many kids are going to be singing the exact same songs. Obviously you want to sing something that's comfortable, so if it's something that you're really used to, I think they usually ask you to sing 2 different ones anyway. They usually want an option, but you should try and think of something that maybe you don't think everybody else would sing, like maybe something that your older family members would know, or like your mom and dad would know, or like even your nana and granddad, like, because the people working there are all of that age and older, so like they're all going to be familiar with older songs, or doing your own version of something, like making it cool, doing a rap version of a completely different song, or an opera version of, that kind of stuff is always kind of cool as well.
Yeah, that's cool. And let me see, what about like dealing with nerves and that kind of thing? Like, or even just like, because obviously a lot of the auditions now for the different things that are happening are online.
Yes.
Or not on either online or by video.
Video, yeah.
Like, any tips for like putting forward a video audition?
Yeah, I find video auditions much harder than in-person ones, because I just feel like your personality can't shine through as much when you're just like sending a song. I think the most important thing, especially because it's going to be video, is just nailing the song. Like in a live audition, you can kind of get away with a few bits here and there that maybe didn't go perfectly for you, but when it's a video, people can watch that thing over and over again. So if there's a bit that's like imperfect or flat, or it's gonna happen a few times, and they're gonna hear it a few times, so they're gonna be able to focus on it. So I mean, the good thing is that you don't have to do it live most of the time. Like you're doing it, sending a link to your YouTube, or sending a link to a SoundCloud, or whatever it is. So just make it as perfect as you can, so they can see what it's like.
Yeah, great advice. I just want to say hello to a couple of people before we go into the next little bit. So Trish, hello and welcome. Thanks for joining. I don't know some of these people, I don't think, but then again, people have some funny usernames, so I'm not always sure. When someone sends you a request on Facebook or somewhere, I don't have a clue who they are half the time. I'm like, just send me a message, tell me, because I can't remember. Frank was there, Carly was there, Con J187, hello and goodbye. I'm not sure if you're still here. I keep clicking this phone weird, so sorry. And then there's the Let's Talk Singing podcast is like a new podcast by Connor. I think his surname is Ryan. I should check that beforehand. No. Anyway, I wasn't expecting to talk about it, but it's a really good podcast, and he is bringing people on to like talk about lots of industry stuff, like anything singing, basically, from performance to vocal health to voice science. So the Let's Talk Singing podcast, you should definitely check it out. They have an Instagram page, probably a Facebook page, but I'm not really on Facebook much. And they're on like Spotify and podcast app and all of that, so we should definitely check them out, people. Jack, hello. Golden Brown, hello. Sarah Ryan, hello, my dear, how are you? Meet myself and Sarah are going to have a chat in a couple of weeks' time as well. Do you know Sarah Ryan, Jen?
I remember you telling me. Yeah.
she's coming on for a chat in a couple of weeks as well. And Rory de Lester as well. He's actually from here in Clonmel. I just thought it'd be interesting to like get people from different kind of musical backgrounds.
Yeah,
so like you're like big musical theatre background, and then we're going to go into what you're doing now as well. And then Rory is kind of more like original music, and kind of doing it from himself. And then Sarah Ryan is original music as well. She has a degree, and it's going, comparing degrees and not having degrees, and does it matter, or what difference, all that stuff. So let's go into secondary school, and like what you were obviously still in Billie Barry in secondary school. Like, did you partake in the school musicals, and was there any?
Yeah, so like my school didn't do school musicals, which I was absolutely raging about. Yeah, they didn't.
No way! Oh my god!
No, yeah, and so the only thing they did was they had a choir. So my music teacher, who obviously is like retired now, but he was like amazing. He was pitch perfect, like an incredible piano player, and he was another kind of reason that I was like kind of pushed on, into music. He was really good, and obviously like knew that I was into performing, knew that I had a good singing voice, and so would always kind of push me to the front and make me do solos and whatever else. But the choir was good because it was, again, like musically different to what I would have done in Billie Barry's. Like, we were sight reading, so we would have to do notation. There was like harmony involved in it, and some of it was like quite difficult, like close harmony that we would have never like at that stage had learned. So like there's still harmony lines on some of the tracks that he made us do that like are ingrained in my head when I hear them now. And he was really into the Beatles and Queen and stuff like that, because obviously we would have done Bohemian Rhapsody for my junior cert, I think.
Oh, cool.
Was it leaving cert?
You sang that for your junior cert?
No, we didn't sing it, but it was the study. You know, the way there was like a piece of
sorry, I was like, sorry, I thought you were still on the singing thing. I was what?
No. But he was really into the Beatles, like obsessed with the Beatles. And like obviously us as kids, like we wouldn't have listened to that much of the Beatles. Like my parents didn't have the Beatles on, their CDs or whatever. So like I got a good education on them from him. But the choir was cool because we got to perform for like, the masses, and anytime there was like a first year parent night or, anything like that, we were like performing at it, and I loved that. With the rest of the teachers in the school, like they just had no time for me whatsoever. Like they were like, they loved doing the little announcement when I was on the telly or when they were coming to see the show.
Of course.
But like, if I was talking to them about any sort of career advice or, where I wanted to be or where I wanted to go to college, their advice was like, just don't do music, like do anything else. Get your degree in something else. You can always do music later. You can always, it's you're never going to be able to earn money off of it. Like you're going to be struggling, and like not everybody makes it, and like you should have a background, you should have like something to fall back on and all this stuff, which is like, it's sound advice, it's not unfounded, but at the same time, like if somebody shows like actual talent and like has a possibility of going into this career, like you should be trying to encourage that as well, and trying to help them pick the best college courses that are going to maybe at least like pair up with it, and my career advisor was literally like, we did those like DATS tests or whatever, like the 5th year tests that kind of show you where your best areas are. And like I just remember her sitting down with me and being like, okay, so like you've got really good blah blah blah, you should go for these kind of courses. And they were all like, I don't know, like law and like articulate stuff, because I was
Jim, the solicitor.
Yeah, I'm sure my parents would have been a lot happier with me as well if I'd have become a lawyer. But I was just like, no, I want to do music. And she was literally just like, no, like what? And she gave me no advice, like didn't send me. I found the college course that I went to by myself, because I went to do Ballyfermot Rock School before.
Oh yes,
because that was before BIM was a thing.
That's straight after college. That's what you did.
Straight after school. Yeah. Straight.
And that was it. Was that like a diploma course, or?
Yeah, it was like a level 6.
1 year.
2 years. Level 6 and
2
level
years,
7.
full time or part time?
Full time. Yeah. So it was like level 6 and level 7. Level 7 was the second year. So if you didn't go to the second year, you only got a level 6. and you didn't need leaving cert points. Like it was like a PLC. It was
Yeah.
like 5 passes is all you needed. So like I was very relaxed going into my leaving cert because I was like, I don't need anything else. I just need to get good in music, and
Yeah.
I'm going to be Britney Spears. I'm going to have a record deal by the time I'm 18. And so I did rock school first. And the only reason I found it is because School of Rock, the Jack Black film, came out.
Yeah.
I think that year, or it was coming out the following year. And I literally, you know, when you go in and you search, I can't remember what the program is called, but it was like a career course database thing that you do in careers class, where you search for specific jobs and it comes up with a course that tailors to that. And I just put in rock school or School of Rock or something like that, like for a joke, and this course came up being like rock school, and I was like, what? Like my career teacher never told me about it because it was like a PLC, and she just thought like it was a waste of time or whatever. So
I don't think anything is a waste of time.
No,
like
definitely not, especially if you want to do it or you don't know what you want to do, you know.
I feel like, and you're probably the same, but like I feel like for any kind of career in music, sometimes because of that kind of attitude of like a career in music is not a real job.
Yeah. I mean that attitude is still there today with just the kind of support we're getting off the government and other people's opinions of our livelihood.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Like it's hard to find the right pathway to go on. I think a lot of
it's hard for anybody. If you take music out of the equation, I think the fact that we have to pick our chosen career choice at like 16, 17, 18 years of age is just mental. Like, how can you possibly know what you want to do at that age? Now, I know there are people out there who, you know, have wanted to be a teacher since they were 3, and same with us, like, always wanted to do music or whatever. But there's an awful lot of people out there who don't know what they want to do when they leave school, and it's so pressurized. Like, just pick a course, pick any course, doesn't matter what course, just pick a course so you're not in college, you know. And it's a lot of pressure for people. And then if you take something like music and add the pressure of that, of the fact that, you know, oh, you're not going to make a career out of that, and you're not going to make any money out of that, and it's a lot for kids. Like,
what would you say, like, or have you got any advice or any kind of insight to any students who are kind of doing their leaving cert or coming up to the leaving cert, about if they want to go into a career in music, but they're not even really sure exactly what they want to do, they just know it's going to be something in music?
Yeah.
Any advice for them?
Yeah, I would say, like, especially if music is something that like you're passionate about, when you do a college course, like, it's a lot of work. Obviously the first 2 years are kind of like grand, and you're socializing, you're getting the kind of college social aspect of it, and there's a lot of great stuff with that. But the serious work comes in like 3rd and 4th year, when you have to write your thesis or maybe your dissertation or whatever it is that you're studying. And if you don't like what you're studying, or if you're not passionate about it, it's going to be a really tough slog, you know. Like, I did my degree in music after I did the rock school thing. And like, I really struggled with some of those like essays and some of the like really harder stuff, because like, even though you're going in to do a degree in music and vocals, you don't just get to sing all the time, you know. Like, it's still, you're still held to like a DIT degree level standard, and you have to do Harvard referencing and all the other yucky stuff that goes along with studying a degree. And I think if I was studying something that I wasn't interested in, or that I hated, even worse, I don't know if I would have been able to get through the course, you know. And I think the dropout rates for courses that people aren't 100% passionate about are much higher, you know, like the likes of an arts degree, or those kind of courses that people do, business, when they're not like 100% sure what they want to do, they have much higher rates, because it's hard. Like, college courses are hard.
They are. And like, you're so right about, like, you leave school and you're really young and you've got no life experience, and you know, you kind of feel like you have to pick a degree and blah blah blah, but like, you know, like, many of us have taken a like different pathways. When I left school, I went straight in to do a diploma in music as well. So I was like, I'll go to college and do a diploma. I actually have done 4 diplomas over the years. 2 of them were music related. One was events management, and one was performing arts. Because I was like, I was working full time in retail. I was working my way up the management ladder because I thought that was my real job. And I had an original band. I was doing that kind of for fun and playing the gigs and stuff like that and writing and all that. But I had my real job as well. But like, I kept going back and doing like short courses and stuff like that. I kept being drawn back to music. Now in my early 30s, and I am back doing a music degree now. I'm going into my second year. I kind of wish I did it when I was a bit younger. I wish I had the balls to just go for it.
But at the
But
same
what
time,
I would
like
just
you
say
said,
is,
like, there's nothing that's a waste of time. You know, like all those experiences. Like I'm a firm believer of, like, you know, everybody is on the path that they're meant to be, or like, you know, where you are now is a product of all the years that, you know, have come so far. Like I did that diploma when I was 17. Like I was straight out of school. I was 16 doing my leaving cert. I was 17 that summer. So I was 17 for the first year of college. I wasn't allowed into pubs or nightclubs. Like
wow.
I was really young and really green in life. And when I did my degree, I was 22 and I had so much more life experience. And I think that that's another thing that people need to consider when they're leaving school, is that just because they pick a degree or a course, that doesn't necessarily need to be the thing that they end up doing for the rest of their life either. Like you can always go back and do something else, and it's never too late.
I would say, like, in hindsight, I would say when you leave school, do whatever you are drawn to do whatever degree, because everything you do in life, none of it is a waste of time. You learn from all of it. Hello, Kat.
And like no matter what career path you're going in, if you go to another career path, all that stuff you've learned will still stand to you in some aspect, you know.
So Jen, the big question.
Yes.
Do you need a music degree to be a musician or to work in the music industry?
No, absolutely not. No, you don't need a music degree. You don't need like a piece of paper that tells you that you're a musician. It is a good thing to have if you want to go into teaching, because it makes it a lot easier. Like obviously once you have a degree, you can go on and do a master's. So like any sort of degree is always going to be a door opening into another career. So if you can get a degree in anything, it's going to stand to you in your music career, because if you decide you want to be a secondary school music teacher halfway through your life, that degree means that you've got entry then into a master's course. Now, with the BIM course that I did, that's what I thought it was going to be, but it turns out that it's actually not. There's like 2 modules missing off of the BIM course, or there was. I'm not 100% sure what the story
is. At the time,
now. But at the time we were missing like classical music and world music from a degree standpoint for credits. So I would have had to study both of those modules separately for a year before I could apply for the what's it called now, the something, is it a master's in education, or it used to be it used to be the HDIP.
Okay,
but now it's a master's in education, I think, and that qualifies you to be a secondary school music teacher. So like the degree is handy for stuff like that, but like if I had a degree in business, I could go and be a music teacher just by filling in those modules that I'm missing.
Provided you have some life experience and experience in music outside of college world as well.
Yeah, exactly. So like it's always going to be a path to something else if you have it, but you don't need a music degree. There's a lot of musicians that I know, full-time musicians, like who are like in their 50s, and you know there was no music degrees that you could get, and they're earning full-time wages, and nobody looks at them any less because they don't have a degree, you know.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, because like for years I kind of fought away the idea of doing a music degree, because I was like, you don't need a music degree to do music. Like you don't, like you can, there's so much stuff you can learn online. You have your natural talent, you have any training you do, like, you know, you might be going to
networking is like 80% of being a musician. It's who you know.
So much.
You know, like but yeah, like the degree is handy, and like me personally, I like that I have a music degree. It makes me feel vindicated in choosing this career or something, you know, like if you're talking to like anyone, a family member who doesn't get it, or like a taxi driver, or you know, like somebody who's like, really, you're still doing singing, are you? And you're like, yeah. You having a degree in it, I don't know, for some reason just gives you that little bit more of like, oh, this is a serious thing. This is not just your hobby. You've got a degree, so you've studied it, so you know what you're talking about, you know.
It's funny because like I started teaching about 3 years ago, and you know I was teaching based on my experience, and obviously I've been like voice lessons and stuff as well, but I didn't have grades or anything like that. Like I did my grade 5 in London College of Music years ago, but And in piano as well, I was teaching beginner piano. I still do, and I don't know how my grades in that either. I'm pretty much self-taught, and I think it was like maybe a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, I got a phone call from a lady inquiring about booking her kids in for piano lessons. And I was explaining to her that I only teach beginners, so like I was at the time I was only doing up to about grade 1 or 2. And she started questioning me, asking me about my qualifications and stuff like that, and I was saying, well, I'm self-taught as a keyboard player, piano player, but I said I've years of experience performing different things. I started telling her, like, she crucified me on the phone, and she's like, what do you mean you're teaching without this and that on the phone? I was absolutely mortified, and I kept kind of saying to her, my thought on that is, if you want a teacher who has the piece of paper, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
But if you don't, the teacher doesn't need a piece of paper if they have results. Like any of my students have gone forward for exams have gotten distinctions or upper merits, so
like you could have a piece of paper and still be a really bad teacher. Do you know what I mean? Like, so the piece of paper doesn't, even though it qualifies you, it doesn't mean that you're actually good at what you do. Do you know what I mean? You just passed a test, you just passed exams, and you wrote essays, but like, it's very hard to grade a teacher for being a teacher. Do you know? And like, I've had many terrible teachers in secondary school, in college, in people who I know who are absolute chancers, who are voice teachers and singing teachers, and like, they're great singers and they have their pieces of paper or whatever, but like, they don't teach well. They don't communicate whatever.
You're not taught to teach.
No, you're either,
you have to figure that out by yourself.
I think you're either like naturally a teacher or you're not. Like, that's my opinion of it. And I don't think the piece of paper makes a difference. But in saying that, when you want to charge for your services, the piece of paper makes a big difference for that.
Yeah.
So if you're going into singing lessons and music lessons and all of that, having the degree behind you justifies your prices.
It's kind of like sorry, I talked over there. I remember at one point, like, I was him and hawing for years about going to go back and do the degree, and Stephen, my partner, said to me, Rebecca, look, if you want this X, Y, and Z, if you want to have your own music school and blah blah blah, just play the game.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you don't think you need the piece of paper, but just go and get it. Go and get it. If that's what you feel like will make you feel at ease and it'll give you a sense of achievement, blah blah blah, go and get it. And when he said it to me, I was like, oh, okay, yeah. So then I went and got it. Like, I'm going and getting it now, So I just feel like there's so many different ways around it. Like, the piece of paper isn't everything, but I think
but
for like
potential qualities.
Say it again.
It has important qualities as well. Do you know, like, there's
100%.
Yeah, I think, like, to be a performing musician, you don't need a degree. But I think if you want to go down other paths, it's very helpful.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I think as well, it's like, for like potential clients who want to book in, like, if they don't know who you are, like, how are they supposed to know unless they've heard from somebody else that you're good at what you do? So the piece of paper straight away kind of gives them that thought in their mind that, she doesn't know what she's doing.
Yeah.
But actually, the piece of paper doesn't mean you know what you're doing when it comes to teaching. But like, I've even learned so much so far. Like, doing the degree I've only done 1 year. Like, I've upskilled loads.
Yeah, there's definitely stuff I learned in that college course. Like, I'm not going to say that because I wasn't green going into it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I had performed and I had been in the industry and I had done so many things that they were teaching people who had literally just stepped out of secondary school. Do you know? But there was definitely stuff I learned that I was like, oh, that's really good. I'm glad I've learned that now. Do you know? So, like, it is all the stuff, like the technique of your voice and like how the actual mechanics of your vocals work. I had never studied any of that. I had never done any formal singing lessons before I went to BIM. Didn't think I needed them.
Yeah.
And then I learned so much in there. So yeah, there's definitely positives and stuff that you can learn from it.
I was just going to read a comment there. Frank says, instead of getting slack off people, you get it off other musicians when you have a degree. Which is really funny because it's so true.
It is, because they're like, oh, you've got a degree, like, whatever. But I think that that's getting less and less these days as well, like, especially in Dublin, because as we said, like, everybody we know is going to BIM or has been in BIM, or like anybody I meet on the street or anybody who gets introduced to me at a gig is like, they're like, oh, they're in BIM. They were in BIM. They've graduated from BIM. Do you know, it's like, it's everywhere now. So I kind of think that musicians like slagging each other for being educated, I think that's going to go away fairly quickly.
I think, like, look, some people are naturally good at what they do, and there's just because you're naturally good at something doesn't mean you can't upskill, and doesn't mean you can't kind of get even better, you know?
Yeah.
So,
like, you're never going to stop learning, especially if it's like your craft, you know? There's never going to be a day that you're like, I know everything that I need to know in my skill set. And if you are like that, you're wrong, because you need to just keep learning.
So I'm just looking at the time there, and I'd like to cover before we finish up, because I think this cuts us off after an hour.
Okay.
Maybe you could like tell anyone who's kind of thinking about a career in music, or maybe who is kind of trying it out at the minute or whatever, the different ways that you have earned a living pre-COVID,
Pre-COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I was in, like, obviously I would have done like musical theatre stuff with Billie Barry's, and like a lot of that, like, not a lot of it, but some of it would have been professionally paid as well. Like, obviously the stuff within the stage school was just for ourselves and for the parents and whatever else, but like the Gaiety shows, the pantos and stuff, they were all paid, even as like 9-year-old kids, because it's you're working, so you're getting paid. And sorry, my cat is literally just like biting my hand. Stop it. Little shit, like.
Hello.
So yeah, I like would have done stuff like that, and from those shows would have gotten hired to do random bits and pieces, promotion work, like if they needed like 2 dancers to show up and like dance around like idiots in 80s gear selling perfume in Ireland, it's like I was there. I've done all those jobs, and then I went in. I started working with the Billie Barry Stage School, so I was like the assistant teacher in there or one of the assistant teachers in there for like 10 years, which was like, that was my straight out of school job. Like, that was my part-time job. It was like right around the corner. It was really handy. I loved it. I got so much experience with teaching and with how Lorraine runs the stage school down there, and like how she does her business, which is just like flawless. Like, she's just the best business woman I've ever met in my life, and like just like the best teacher as well. Like, just has it down to a T. And so I did the stage school stuff. I taught there. And then when I went to college, I started up in the band. So the band got started. It actually wasn't myself that started it. It was a manager who is actually the bass player for the Camembert Quartet, the band that plays for Brian Tubridy in the late. So the bass player in that, his name is Cormac Moore. He still is managing a band called Pump Up the Jam. They're like a 90s band. They're like rivaled with Smash Hits. And so he was managing them, and he decided that he wanted to make a noughties cover band to like pick up, the younger people or whatever that were in the 90s was going to go over their heads. So he basically found the other guy who sings in my band, used to do a Justin Timberlake tribute, like acoustically for the Crack in town.
Yeah.
And the manager ended up hearing him at a gig and was like, okay, Naughty's, Justin Timberlake, definitely want to have you and the guitarist in the band. And then because he was in the Camembert Quartet, the sax player from the Camembert Quartet used to come in and play sax for our BIM stuff. They'd like hire a sax guy if we had like a workshop where we had a song that featured a brass instrument or sax, and they would hire somebody to come in and play alongside with us like a professional musician, which was cool. And like that, we got to network with those musicians, even as students in college. And he was playing sax one day while I was singing. We got chatting. He ended up recommending me to the bass player of the band and saying that he had heard a girl in BIM who was a really good singer and would fit the bill for, Britney Spears cover band type thing. And I got a phone call from him to say, do you want to go for a coffee and let's talk about this cover band? And I was like, yes. Went for coffee, and he basically said, like, I just want somebody who's going to be able to sing Christina Aguilera, Beyonce. And I was like, I'm there. Like, I'm so, that's my music. So we ended up being in that cover band for like, I think about 3 years. And it didn't work. Like, as much as we wanted it to, we were a really good band, and we rehearsed and we sounded great and we were really good mates and whatever else, but just, I think the world was just not ready for a noughties wedding band. Like, they needed more time for noughties to become the new 90s, and so we ended up moving management and just becoming like I don't want to say standard wedding band, but just like a wedding band that didn't have a stage attached to it.
Right, okay.
But we wanted to be like, we knew we wanted to be like modern, slick, like only play the
appeal
songs.
to younger couples.
Yeah, appeal to younger couples, and also, you know, like not be the standard cringy wedding band that is, and like it's no offense to those people who do that. They've made a really good living. They've made a really good living off of it, and it's, you know, it's the reason that it is a standard wedding band is because they've set this precedent. But we knew that we didn't want to be five guys in suits and a female singer in a sparkly dress, you know, in a sparkly black dress, singing like Amy Winehouse Valerie. Like I personally was like, I'm not doing that. I want to do stuff that other wedding bands aren't doing. I want to do cool medleys of like modern stuff. And so we did that, and we're like a bunch of mates that are all, you know, under 35, and we're all very like-minded, and the set list kind of highlights that and highlights our taste in music, I think, as well. Obviously you have to throw in the odd crowd pleaser or whatever else, because you will have multiple people at a wedding, multiple age groups and multiple backgrounds, but we try to keep them to the minimum and just try and keep the rest of it to ours.
It's your niche audience. It's your niche.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, as far as I know, you're like the only band that's kind of marketed that way in Ireland at the moment that I know of. Your band is called Pop Life, by the way, if anyone is engaged or looking for a wedding band, should definitely check them out. Pop Life, they're colourful, they're fun.
Don't worry about it.
Sorry?
It's going to be 2021 at the earliest.
Yeah, I know. I was even forgetting as I said that.
No, it's nice to forget.
Speaking of, how has COVID affected you?
Yeah, hugely, obviously. I mean, there's no weddings. All the weddings have been like, we had a really full diary this year. Like we've been Pop Life for like almost 4 years now, and our first couple of years were obviously like not as many gigs, and now we're like, you know, once it hits April, we're out the door to December. You know, like it's like, it's great because we've worked really hard. We've been
it's amazing.
We've been in a cover band together for like nearly 8 years, and it's taken a long time to get us to where we are. But now we're coming into like our busiest summer that we've had so far, and then COVID happened. All the brides panicked. They were all like, okay, no, we have to move our weddings to next year. And so next year is looking really busy. But again, like, it's all just dependent on whether they can all go ahead, because if there's no vaccine by then, we're going to be in the same situation like then that we are now. So reduced numbers, people deciding to elope and have a party when it gets better, people deciding to like have a smaller wedding and throw the big wedding out the door and not book a band. And so like there's a lot of we're losing a lot of business over it. Like not loads, like we're getting a lot of people that are just like postponing, but there are a lot of people who are just sick of it, and they're just like, oh, I just want to get married tomorrow and just not have a band and just, you know, have like friends over for dinner or whatever.
And it's understandable, you know, because like they're people's dream day, like and they've probably been planning it for so long, and, like, and people have booked off work and they've been planning it ahead. Everyone has it in their calendar.
Family coming from different countries, you know, like there's so many costs and stuff that you just don't even think about outside of the actual wedding venue or whatever. And like my sister was meant to be getting married in June this year, and and she has postponed it to like next July. And like obviously I was helping her to plan it because I'm in the wedding industry for so long. And I know every venue in Ireland basically. Like obviously she booked our band for the wedding, and obviously not with me in it, but my deck Katie, who's like amazing.
Oh, okay, I was gonna ask how that works.
Yeah, like I'll probably get up and do a song or whatever because the family won't let me not do that. But no, I plan on being like the drunkest bridesmaid on the dance floor, getting to dance at a wedding. Like this never happens because I'm always on stage.
Love it.
Yeah, so we were really looking forward to that, and then COVID happened, and it was just this most stressful time for my sister and her fiance, and for me because I'm the maid of honor, so I was like trying to help everything, and it was just a nightmare. Like it really, really was, and they're still worried about it not going ahead like next July if things don't change. You know,
it's just so hard to know what to do, and like the research around singing. Specifically singing and brass instruments is so big.
Anything else. Yeah.
Sorry?
It's more dangerous than anything else.
Yeah, because we expel so many aerosols into the air, and like some research has found that like those aerosols, if they contain the virus, can linger for a long time, and other research has kind of proven the opposite. So it just seems too
it's not
risky to try.
Yeah. Like I know a lot of people are getting the perspex screens and stuff like that. There's some cool stuff on Thomann actually. There's like orchestra screens that you can get that like attach onto your microphone, and they're like curved, and they're about 80 quid. Obviously, like Thomann has delivery charges or whatever, but
Yeah.
for the likes of a 2-piece or something like that, it would work. Like 2 pieces probably.
Yeah, Frank is saying that here in comments.
They probably are going to be the way forward for at least for the next 6 months, I would say.
Yeah.
Smaller scale things are definitely going to be easier to do than a big band. Like even ourselves, you know, there was couples that were looking at trying to keep their wedding for this year and reduce the guests down to like 30 or 40 guests. But then you have to remember that like the band has to social distance as well. So like, you know, you always just think of the band as like one unit that travels in a car together and arrives together, and you can just squash them into a corner. And it's like, you can't do that at the minute because we're obviously not living in the same house. So we all have to travel separately, which is an extra cost in the cars. And then we have to be like 2 meters away from each other on stage as well. So it's like, it's a bit of a nightmare to kind of head with those weddings as well. But
it's really devastating for the
entertainment industry.
That industry. I mean there's plenty of industries being hit by this, but like I think what's really difficult for us, and I think self-employed people in general is there's not really any support for us.
No,
nobody wants to like support us. It's kind of difficult, you know. So it's sometimes you feel like you're screaming silence. You know.
Now there is like that musician, and I can't remember the individual thing, but the MEAR. It's like, it's kind of like a musicians union, and they're having meetings with like TDs and people in government to try and like extend the pandemic payment and like the higher rate pandemic payment for musicians and people who like work in the industry, like tech people and stage technicians and engineers, because there just isn't, like, you know, even stage techs and engineers and stuff, they're not actually considered the arts. So every time that they like announce a new grant for the arts and that sector, like people who work sound and light and theater, stage techs, they get none of that, and they just kind of fall through the cracks of all those things. So there are people working in the background to try and bring this to the forefront of the government and kind of make them understand that it's not the same as people who just haven't got a job and need to look at getting another job or retraining or reskilling. It's like, our jobs are still jobs. We're just not allowed to do them yet, you know.
I'm just look at the time there. I don't know how strict Instagram is, if it cuts you off like straight away. There's so much more like I want to talk about, but we just don't have the time. But maybe I don't know, is there anything you want to end with, or anything like maybe you could say pros and cons or of working as in the music industry? Or
so like working in the music industry.
Oh wait, I have 15 seconds, 14 seconds. Okay.
Yeah, it's great. If you can work doing what you love, you'll never work a day in your life, but you'll probably also never be able to get a mortgage.
That was so perfect. We have 3 seconds.